Hey guys, hey, today what we're going to do is install a Voswitch module, a power module, under the hood of the Jeep. So what this will be used for is to wire accessories. In the stock Jeep, it comes with some of them as an option, an auxiliary switch panel. And you get 4 auxiliary switches. My Jeep didn't come with that. It's got a little cubby, and actually I didn't find out or notice it until I drove it off the lot after I purchased the thing. Then I realized, oh wow, I'm missing those 4 switches. So I started looking for a solution, and I found this Voswitch. It's got all the circuitry and the relays built into this box. The box is waterproof and it mounts under the hood. So we're going to go ahead and mount the thing, and then all your accessories are going to be wired into the box. The stock auxiliary switch panel in the Jeep comes with 4 auxiliary switches. This one comes with 6, so I get 2 more. So that's what we're doing today in the shop, and I hope you stick around and watch as we get this thing wired up. So let's get to work. Thanks. Okay, so first things first, we got to get the box mounted to the Jeep. It mounts right here under the hood. There is a factory bolt, and then there is an empty bolt hole. Voswitch provides an additional nut, or a bolt, I'm sorry, M6 bolt that bolts in there. So first thing, we got to get this one out. You'll need a 10mm socket. What we're going to do, set this little dude right there. Put that factory bolt back in the same hole we pulled it out of. So what we got to do now, we're not going to hook up any power wires, but we are going to run our wires. So we've got a power and a ground, and then we've got this main power. I can't see what gauge this thing is, but it's a pretty heavy gauge. It's probably like a 10, an 8 or a 10 maybe? It doesn't say. This is going to mount directly to the battery positive terminal. And then these are going to go to the battery positive and negative. Actually, the negative, and this goes, I think, to a switch source. But let me check the instructions just to be sure. So let's get cracking. Okay, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and run these wires over to the other side of the Jeep. To do that, I'm going to remove the coolant overflow. You'll need a 10mm socket. And I've got the battery powered ratchet. Now what we're doing is we're connecting this ground wire to a ground lug. It's on this side on the passenger side. And I have found a nut that fits. It's a lock nut, so we don't have to worry about any kind of washers or lock washers. It's a 13mm is what I've got, and I'm going to go ahead and tighten that thing down. We'll have our ground straight, and that actually goes right to the battery, so we should be good there. There we go. Okay, that ground is in place. The next thing we'll do is go to the other side and get our control cable mounted. These are the power cables. This is going to go to battery positive. This is going to go to a keyed a keyed source in the fuse panel, and they give us a little tap to put in the fuse panel. So that's in a later step. So let's start running that control line. All right, guys. So now we're going to run our control cable, which will connect to our control panel on the inside of the cab. That's what controls all the relays within the Voswitch power module. And there is a grommet just to the left side, left driver's side of the master cylinder, the brake master cylinder, and that's what we're going to go through the cab with. So let me show you that. I've already drilled it out. If you get on the YouTubes, there's like 5,000 different ways to get a cable from the engine compartment into the cab of a Jeep JL. I chose to do it this way. I'm going to have to get some silicone and silicone this up. But basically what I did was I found this grommet, which goes right under the dash, and I drilled a hole with a 1/2-inch bit. The 1/2-inch bit, it's tight, but you could get it in. If you can see that, this little collar right there has to squeeze through that hole. So you can see it's pretty tight. At any rate, that's what I'm going to use. So I'm going to jam this in there. I'm going to put this this plug back in there, and later on I'll get some silicone and silicone that hole up to seal it up. So that is how I'm getting inside the cab. Alright, hopefully you can see this. There's that hole right there, and we're just going to pull this control cable through that hole, and I'm going to go reset that plug, and then we'll figure out where to zip tie the control cable where it's not in the way. Jeep. Now we need to get our trim removal tool, remove some trim, and we're going to install the control panel in that little cubby. Okay, the first thing we've got to remove is this piece here, and I've already done it once. So I'm going to get my trim remover tool in here, and you just pry until you hear it pop. Oop, I don't want to mess it up though. Let's see. There we go. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to disconnect these items, and I'm going to set this panel aside. There is one Phillips head that we need to undo here to get this lower section out, and that's going to have the little cubby where we're going to put the switch panel. It sounds horrible, doesn't it? Alright. Okay guys, where we are now is we need to replace this cubby with this switch panel. And so to take the cubby out, you need a 5.5mm socket. And there are a few little bolts, so take those little dudes out. Okay, there's the little cubby, and we're going to replace it with Okay. All right, so that switch panel is installed. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is hook up the positive cable, and to do that, I'm going to use this. It's a 12 millimeter nut that comes right off the positive. So I've already loosened that. Hook that up. And again, we've already done our ground wire. It should come on right now, but I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to use the trigger wire, which goes to this red wire that comes with the dealy my whopper. And I've got to figure out which one of these fuses I'm going to use. And it says the F52. Locate the F52 fuse. F52. Alright, I found it. Okay, I'm going to use my handy dandy little fuse getter outer tool. And that is a 20 amp fuse. That's for the cigarette lighter. And I'm going to put that little dude in there, like so. There we go. In there. There we go. All right, we got our ground. We got that positive. We have the trigger wire. Okay, there's one more thing you have to do if you're going to use a trigger wire. On or inside the box, there are two dip switches, dip switch 1 and 2. You need to change number 2 to the on position to use the trigger wire. Otherwise, it's just going to come on whenever you push the button, and if the vehicle's off, it's going to stay on. So this way, it's going to be triggered by the trigger switch. Dip switch number 2 to the on position. So let me hook up a little test light and we'll see if this thing's going to work. Alright, I've got my multimeter hooked up. I am going to touch the positive lead to the one that goes to the battery, the negative to the ground. We've got 12.69 volts. Okay, so next test is I'm going to touch ground, touch one of the switch connections, and nothing. All right, let's see what happens when I turn this thing on. All right, I had to go find my key fob. Okay, I'm going to take a look at switch number 1. Ground. Switch 1. Alright, it works. Switch 2. Nothing. Switch 1. 12.5 volts. There you go. We're good. Alright, I think that's about it.